This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Our record 2020, 21, 22, 24, 25. So our fifth elimination show from the postseason in a 6-year span. And the 1 year we didn't get to do one because they didn't make the postseason. This one was dull. But I guess that's all you can ask for these days, right? Because apparently it's too much to ask for a Yankees title run or just a spectacular playoff run where all of their strengths are on display and they overcome their weaknesses. Last year, with Juan Soto taking the pressure off of Aaron Judge, they hung on for dear life. And they narrowly defeated the AL Central in the DS and CS on theatrics and heroics. Then when they got to the World Series, their opponent put the ball in play. It mystified them. They also brought in Nestor Cortez instead of Tim Hill to get the biggest out of their season of Aaron Judge's baseball life. It didn't work out. This year, they were a bizarre team that played better with their backs against the wall, played much better in April and May, took June, July, and most of August off, then righted the ship against bad competition, weathered the gauntlet, had a good September, strong close to the year, almost took back the AL East, didn't. Would this have gone any differently if they had? I hesitate to say that out loud, given the number of things that went wrong in the postseason. So was this completely depressing? They eliminated the Boston Red Sox in the playoffs. Tuck that one away. The Boston Red Sox will not be winning the title this year because of you. They won one of the most exciting games in modern Yankees history last night in Game 3. Certainly of the Aaron Judge era, but black mark on the team and the Aaron Boone era and the Judge era and modern Yankees history. That was one of the most exciting wins. It was objectively exciting. It was also a huge comeback in Game 3 of the ALDS, down 2-0, hanging on for dear life. And that's the standard right now. Watching the Fox broadcast, we've seen this over and over again. 2011 against the Tigers comes to mind. Huge momentum-turning road win in Game 4. Come home. Ivan Nova gives up 2 home runs to Delman Young homers in the first. They go back-to-back. The Tigers hang on 3-2 and eliminate the Yankees on their own turf. The huge, vaunted Yankees offense just does almost nothing, barely anything, something. They had I think they had a bases-loaded walk in that game that scored a run. Couldn't get the big hit. Never get the big hit. This felt a lot like that. This felt a lot like the way they went out against Houston, where they flatlined. A couple of the games were close in 2022. Obviously, they go out against Houston all the time, but this was one of the series where they just got run over. Playoffs show up, the offense decreases. The supplements for Aaron Judge don't produce. Cody Bellinger was fine. Not great. Giancarlo Stanton was largely not good. Trent Grisham played his way off the Yankees.
Yep.
Small sample size, and I think he was probably trending towards not being here next year anyway, but he was awful. And anything short of like a torn labrum or whatever, the passivity he showed, nothing like the Trent Grisham from the regular season. Mm-hmm. Jazz Chisholm hit a huge home run yesterday. Other than that, took the worst at-bat of today's game, made the worst defensive play of today's game, and it's not like the Yankees were going to win the game if they complete that double play. Might have gotten a little more interesting.
Yeah.
But that was the moment. That was the moment that it ended, and it falls on Jazz's ledger. The starting pitching was abominable in this series, except for Cam Schlittler, who proved he's a pitcher, not a thrower today. Didn't have his best stuff, which is crazy because he was still throwing 97, 98. The Blue Jays were the Blue Jays. They chip away. They get 2-strike hits. That Miles Straw swing against Camilo Doval was the most Blue Jays AB I've ever seen in my life. We don't do that. It would be great to do that. Schlittler was great. Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, and of course, Luis Gil in the Game 1 fill-in. Gil was fine. He did his job, theoretically. Luke Weaver came in and was abominable in that game. The bullpen let it get away from them. And Rodon and Fried, 2 people you pay to be great, were not just not great, but were unusably bad. And it's hard to even really talk in detail about this stuff, but hopefully that series taught a bunch of people who extol the Yankees for their power hitting during the regular season and the way that they bash against bad teams. Hopefully that taught some people that it's valuable to develop the Nathan Lucases and Ernie Clements of the world and Alejandro Kirks of the world and Addison Bargers of the world. The broadcast today just marveling at the fact that they're endless dudes on the Jays who've got 3-hit games and putting bat on ball. And Barger's hits were bloopers and dinks down the line. They're not impressive visually. And you need power and you need superstars. right? But you need both. And I hope that some people who watch the Yankees do what they did all year and then do what they did again in a short series. It's not like they're facing the elite of the elite pitching. Kevin Gossman is someone they've seen before. He dominated them with a splitter. Trey Savage, nasty, disgusting. Shane Bieber was terrible yesterday. They took him to the woodshed. Today, the whole Jays bullpen, it's a bad bullpen. A whole bad Jays bullpen. Couldn't do anything with it. The Jays put traffic on the bases all game, and the Jays didn't come through in plenty of scenarios with runners in scoring position. But it didn't matter because they put runners on every inning. They came through 2 or 3 times. And they won the baseball game, and it wasn't as close as the scoreboard said. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. A post-mortem. I can believe the offense was this feckless. I can believe the offense gave this few fucks to the naked eye. I can't believe the starting pitching was this bad, and I can't believe that we didn't have just a bullpen disaster. We got out of a playoff run without a bullpen disaster, so good for us, I guess.
Well, sort of. I don't know. You call Luke Weaver in game 1 a disaster?
They didn't take a 3-run lead in the 8th inning and give it
Yeah.
Like I think we all thought the diagnosis was heading into October. They're
hot.
hot.
Devin Williams meltdown.
Yeah,
and life would be over.
They're hot, right? They're hot right now, but they're one just 4-0 lead squandered in the 8th inning away from us, just questioning our lives. And again, credit to the Blue Jays, 6-1 lead yesterday. The Blue Jays frittered it away in 2 innings, and the Yankees offense added on and ran away. And the Yankees bullpen was nails yesterday. And if that had happened to the Yankees, think about how we would have shown up today. But it didn't. Yep. It happened to the Blue Jays, and they had an extremely Blue Jays game today. And they impressed me as they did so often this season, and they win the series.
Yeah, if what happened to the Blue Jays yesterday happened to us, we would have died on the vine. The series would be going to 5 games. Whatever the Yankees did tonight, I still don't know what they did. They ended up with 6 hits and 6 walks, but I think through 5 they had 2 hits and 1 walk.
Their first at bat with a runner in scoring position was Jazz with 2 outs in the 6th inning, right before the game went to hell.
That was terrible.
And the at bat was awful, but that's a stat. When you hear it, you're like, that can't happen in an elimination game.
Yeah, it can't, not only an elimination game, it can't happen in a bullpen game, especially when the bullpen has been overused for the Blue Jays when it had no business being overused. Yeah. John Schneider kind of backed himself into a corner in this series with his decisions in game 2 and game 3. I saw Blue Jays fans complaining last night that he removed Bieber too early, which I got to an extent. And then on the other hand, I was like, the guy's trying to win the game. He wants to sweep. So I didn't fault him for the aggression, but I could have seen, leave him in for another inning and a third and see where it gets you before you start burning through arms, knowing tomorrow you have a bullpen game, but didn't matter. I don't know how. Again, this Yankees team, I guess for one, I'm appreciative that you're right. There was no heartbreak. There was no bullpen meltdown. There was no moment that just completely broke your back. It was a classic boring Yankee game that you watch in August that you can simulate until the 9th inning and you know the outcome. And that's what they did tonight. They let the Blue Jays score first immediately. I'm not going to fault Cam Schlittler for that because, again, he had a great night, and it's the kid's second career postseason start. He turned in a great outing.
And he looked totally different than he did against the Red Sox, and he was still great. He's the only one who was great in the series.
And I think the point made in the pregame by Michael Kay or Jack Curry was that the Blue Jays are a much better team than the Red Sox in terms of offense and quality at bats. So I am not invalidating what Schlittler did against the Red Sox, but if the Yankees in their mind were expecting anything close to that outing, they were not living on planet Earth. But again, it's the offense's fault because you have a young pitcher on the mound who gets a little bit rattled in the first inning, and he's capable of picking himself back up, but you give him absolutely no support. The lone support comes from the number 9 hitter, Ryan McMahon. And there's a lot of, I think, crazy under the radar decisions that were made in this one that didn't get the full, expose because of how generally underwhelming the offense was and how nobody really stepped up. And that's really the problem with the Yankees in the playoffs over these last however many years. It's the offense just won't do enough. The offense will not punch back. And look, they did punch back. They punched back yesterday. It was an incredible victory. It's something that Aaron Judge will be able to, I guess, hang his hat on for next year and the year after, to kind of have all those postseason critiques go away, because he's been living in hell with that, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the lone silver lining to take away from this. But more often than not, the offense will randomly go into a slumber. The Yankees will not carry their momentum. They didn't carry the momentum from the Red Sox series. Remember, Schlittler goes 8 scoreless. They go into Toronto and lose 10-1. Last night, they have a historic playoff victory. No team has ever come back down from 5 runs in I forgot what the specific stat was, but obviously facing elimination. Yeah, it was
facing elimination in a sweep. There's never been a team to overcome a 5-run deficit before. 0-38 previously.
Yeah.
So obviously that happens a bunch because team's about to get swept. It means one team is probably kicking ass, and it was not surprising to see the Jays take a 6-1 lead. But everyone complaining about them pulling Bieber. Yankees made it 6-3. They got out of that inning, and then the Yankees put a couple of guys on for Aaron Judge. Louis Varland comes in throwing 100 off the plate inside, and Aaron Judge hits one of the most impossible home runs of all time. So I can't fault John Schneider for bringing in Varland. I can't fault Varland for the pitch he threw. Aaron Judge has an all-time moment, and I think we need to work hard to not forget that too, because you're going to hear shit. You're going to hear shit from the same people who've given it to you for years about how he can't perform in the playoffs and how they came up short tonight, how it's the DS and doesn't matter. Nothing matters until you win a World Series. And then when you win a World Series, people say it was a weak field or, an easy route, or like if Aaron Judge, I saw someone tweet, if Aaron Judge had hit the Freddie Freeman grand slam last year, they would have taken credit away because it was against Nestor Cortez, who shouldn't have been in there. And I'm sure that's true. That's exactly what would have happened. So Judge needs a ring, and even a ring is not going to absolve him of any of that. It's the Yankee fans are going to have to work and fight for Judge now. An unbelievable pitch, an unbelievable home run.
Yeah,
I was tough on Judge earlier in the week. He more than answered the bell. He hit 500 in this series, 500 in the postseason. Incredible job. Only one who showed up. And I didn't feel that way at the end of game 2, because I thought his bad swing with the bases loaded in game 1 was the most impactful moment of the series. I was wrong. He earned them another shot. He came back and said, if you believe that about me, I'm going to imprint on this series like crazy. Game 3 was an all-timer. They threw that momentum in the trash can, and none of Judge's teammates showed up to help him out at all tonight.
Yeah, he went 2 for 4 with an RBI. I know, obviously, again, that was a hollow RBI, but he attempted to stage a comeback. His other out was a 113-mile-an-hour line out to the shift. So the narrative there is true. Trent Grisham with an all-time terrible postseason, 138 average, 207 slug. Cody Bellinger, 214. And don't forget, folks, all of these OBPs are well under 300. So you have Cody Bellinger, 214, 393 slug. Stanton, 192, 269 slug. Jazz, 182, 318. Austin Wells, 227, 227. Volpe.
Wells with the worst at-bat of the game, too.
So, yeah, I mean, we could go right into that because the series is over and the Yankee season is over, and there were moments and decisions that ruined this game. And that was probably number 2. You have to give Jazz's error number 1. I don't think we really need to go too in-depth with that. He botched a double play ball. It forced Schlittler out of the game. It extended the inning. The Blue Jays tacked on 2 more runs. If it was 2-1 instead of 4-1 and then 5-1, we're talking about a different game. Do the Yankees come back from that? I don't know, because they were performing terribly down by 1 run or tied for most of the game. They seem to only wake up when they're down by 5 or 6. Yeah. And then that kind of changes the equation for them. But yeah, so Jazz's error, obviously number 1. Number 2 is Austin Wells swinging at the first pitch with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the 7th when Jeff Hoffman, or the 8th, when Jeff Hoffman fully didn't have it. I don't know what the logic was there. Maybe you thought he was going to sneak a fastball in, but you just watched the at-bat prior with Ben Rice getting that walk, and I don't see a reason to swing the bat there.
Well, it's just we're all jaded, right? You don't expect a comeback from down 5-1 because we rarely see it, but also we're 24 hours removed from seeing it. So if you think, oh, they don't have a chance, they've got 2 base runners on for Ben Rice. This game's over. I'm going to get a microwave burrito and just maybe shove my face in it instead of the other way around. Like, not even going to put the burrito in my mouth. I'll just put my face in the enchiladas suizas. And then Ben Rice walks, and the bases are loaded for Austin Wells. And again, jaded viewers and this offense stink. You know, they're fake comeback. They stink. But the tying run is at the plate, and you're at home. And this crowd, I was there yesterday. I was not there tonight. This crowd yesterday was, well, honestly, I expected a death march. And that crowd yesterday was as good as they've been in years for the Yankees. I'm not sure what it was about this team, an AL East team coming into your house. You don't want to let them finish it, or Aaron Judge just trying to will him. I mean, they willed him to hit that home run with MVP chance and then 0-2 count. 0-2 count. That was loud. I've been to a lot of Yankees playoff games. I've been to some dead ones in the modern era. Game 2 of the 2012 ALCS, after Jeter snapped his ankle the night before, there were like whole sections of the outfield that weren't full. And it's the time I've questioned my fandom the most. And just like, what are these people? Like, cities would kill for ALCS baseball right now, and there's nobody here. And the people who are here don't care. They're down 1-0. Like, that crowd was dead, 2012. Been to a lot of good to great crowds. 2019 DS against the Twins game 2 stands out as particularly awesome. 2017 wildcard game, awesome. I expected a dead crowd yesterday. 2024 World Series game 3 I went to. That crowd was dead. And it hurt that Freddie Freeman took them deep in the first. But, like, that's what I expected. A crowd going through the motions. They're all there. They know it's a playoff game. They're definitely cheering for the moments that matter, but they don't expect to win. And when they go down, they die. Not the case yesterday. That crowd was alive the whole time. And I assume today's crowd was just as good, even down 5-1 in the 8th, based on how yesterday's crowd acted. So 5-1 in the 8th, you feel dead at home, but that crowd doesn't. And that crowd deserves better. And that crowd is egging the Yankees on. And Austin Wells is the tying run.
Yep.
If we're at Fenway, if the Yankees are at Fenway, Camilo Doval's on the mound, and it's 5-1, and the bases are loaded with 2 outs for any Red Sox, you're thinking grand slam. You're thinking double. You're thinking gapper. Jeff Hoffman just walked Ben Rice. He doesn't know where the ball's going. He's been one of the worst closers in baseball for months now. First pitch swinging. I mean, if the season didn't end on Jazz's watch with the botched double play, it ended there. There's no reason. 5-1, bringing in a closer, it should be a cinch, but it wasn't. But then you let him off the hook. And they did that far too often in this series and this season and this era.
Yep. The big hit was so the big hit for the Yankees in this era is just so few and far between. Like we said, I think the game 3 comeback last night, there was anything close to that since 2017.
Gary Sanchez to the gap against the Astros, and last night. That's it.
Yeah. And Cam Schlittler's performance against the Red Sox in the winner go home wildcard game, I don't remember a pitching performance close to that.
Somebody I've never heard, somebody whose name I can't remember, Homer just sent them into the World Series last year. That was technically cool. And game 5 of the ALCS last year, rallying against Class A. But at home,
I'm not counting. Yeah, rallying against Class A and then losing. Like, again, you're talking about the Guardian. I'm talking about equal or superior opponents.
And I'm talking about big deficit at home, just magic. No magic at all.
Yeah, no, it's completely devoid of it. And you look at, again, the Yankees processes. We don't know what goes into that. We can ask as many questions as we want. The media members who are there tonight are going to ask questions. They're not going to get answers. You're only going to get the hearsay from people like Clint Frazier, who say that the organization doesn't believe in hot streaks, which I kind of believe, because they don't. They don't ride the hot hand. They don't make decisions based on gut instinct. They don't ride with momentum. They far too often randomly just go into offensive slumbers when there is no indication as to why. If you had watched the last, 14 innings of Yankees baseball, the offense was fully back, and whether it was legitimate or not, it was. And then they come into tonight and they score 1 run through the first 7 innings or 8 innings. 8 innings, and they essentially threatened never They ended up going 1-for-6 with runners in scoring position, and they got their first hit with runners in scoring position in the ninth when Judge drove home the garbage run. And they just simply played worse than their opponent. The Blue Jays were 3-for-17 with runners in scoring position. They had one walk on the entire evening. So
again, we always get these comments, and I can't believe we get these comments, and people don't listen. People show up and say what they want to say. We just did 20 minutes on how the Yankees got dominated and run over by the Blue Jays like a steamroller. And the comment is lots of excuses. Just admit the Blue Jays won and they were better. That the whole show has been admitting that the Blue Jays have what the Yankees don't. That the Yankees magic is gone. That's been the whole show.
Yes, Escobar. So I don't know when you tuned in. Sorry if it was a little bit late, but
excuse. The start time was too late. The Yankees didn't get a good night's sleep in their bed. No, the Yankees got owned by the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah,
one rival who they've had, an ability to get and knock out of important series during the Aaron Boone era. This year totally flipped on its head. Postseason arrives. You hope things are different. They're not. They got run over by the Blue Jays again.
Yeah, I mean, are we counting sucking as an excuse? That's what we're saying.
They should have been better. Yeah, they were terrible.
Yeah, they suck. There's an excuse would be saying the whole plate umpire sucked ass, and he did.
Which he did.
Yeah, he was, but that didn't affect the game. That would be making an excuse. He was just it was befuddling to watch a performance like that from, again, someone who's supposed to be a professional not be good. And again,
I hate to interrupt too, but we have another Alex Cora on our hands.
Who?
Blue Jays manager John Schneider. The Jays are playing New York in the celebration, and John Schneider popped champagne by saying, "Start spreading the news, bitches."
Oh, okay.
Cool. So, okay. Another one.
Good. Yeah, I mean, that'll be their World Series, and nobody will laugh about that.
Aaron Boone, your response? Well, John's been a good manager. Say something. Say anything. Well, he fights real hard out there. Get mad. I don't know. Kudos to the Blue Jays. Good job by them.
Someone get mad, but
I trust the guys in this locker room.
The Yankees they were not that great of a team. I think Buck Martinez was wrong in saying they weren't a good team at all. That was not true. They were simply just not a clear-cut World Series contender.
Make it matter, though. Make it matter. Like Buck Martinez says, the Yankees are a bad. I'm sorry, I don't care about their stats or their record or anything. They're not a good team. And the Yankees are like, we'll show him. We're gonna do what he said we were going to do. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, it's that's the Yankees punching back for you. It's few and far between, and it's usually hollow and meaningless, or they again just give it right back. Doesn't matter what they did the night before. They roll in and sleepwalk into the next one. So there is, again, we don't know what goes into the processes, but this team as a collective, with various iterations of the roster dating back to 2018, top to bottom, lack a killer instinct. They had the opportunity to go for, and it's front office and personnel, because last year we talked about, you have Juan Soto for 1 year. He's not guaranteed to come back next year. Sure, the odds might be in your favor. It's certainly possible, but you can't bet on that being the case when, one, he's a Boris client, and two, he's arguably going to be the highest paid free agent ever. And they didn't go for it at the trade deadline. And some people might say, oh, well, Jazz was going for it, but Jazz wasn't exactly what they needed. It was a luxury piece, and they ended up playing him out of position, and they didn't fortify the other areas of the roster where they needed to, in terms of defense, in terms of bench depth, in terms of relief help. And that's where they ended up getting burned. So, and then you talk about, from the player standpoint, you are playing sloppy baseball in the World Series, which is, should be beyond unacceptable. And again, this year you have essentially the season end with offensive lack of production and more defensive malfeasance. And it's hard to see the same thing every year. And if you're a prepared team, and if you're a motivated team, and if you play relaxed and you are fearless to an extent against your hated rivals, then this is not the result. This is not the end result. The end result is something a little bit more competitive, Game 5. The end result is something more triumphant, and it's not. And so you look at these decisions that affected the team. So you have Jazz making an error in a do or die game, that simply can't happen, especially when you're talking about an inning-ending double play. Austin Wells swinging at the first pitch. I have no idea why that was the case. My other one, honorable mention, I guess, before I go into the one that I thought was the most egregious, was bringing in Camilo Doval with the season on the line. I just do I have a solution as to what the answer should have been? I actually do not, but I know for a fact it should not have been Camilo Doval. I know he had been pitching okay over his last few outings, but again, your season is on the line. So your Devin Williams play didn't work out. The Jazz Chisholm error kind of put everything in flux. I might have just stuck with Schlittler at that point and then wait to give Williams a clean inning. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that I am not bringing in really anybody except Devin Williams with a clean inning to start. Tim Hill, David Bednar, and honestly, that's probably it. And that's who they should have gone to, regardless of what the matchups were. Nobody else has been as reliable as those three over the last month or so. So I just don't know why Camilo Doval is the option there, and he gives up another run, and then that kind of further takes the wind out of the sails of the Yankees. I don't know how you felt about the bullpen management, but again, not going to nitpick too hard, because if Jazz doesn't make that error, where it's a completely different story. Devin Williams is coming in with a clean inning, but it's just I don't know, more just lack of direction and lack of, again, the killer instinct. Camilo Doval just can't be your choice there. I don't know how else to put it.
I mean, it's just like, I think.
Like, what else do you do? I don't know, but
again, I think it's bad circumstance. I don't know what else you do, but we just end up at like Devin Williams coming in for George Springer with runners on the corners and 1 out is another thing where I'm like, can't do that, but also you have to do that because Jazz's defense set you up to do that, and because you've got a bullpen where you trust 1.75 people in David Bednar and kind of Devin Williams, but you also know that there's a good chance that George Springer just shits on a change up there. Then when you get Springer on 7 consecutive changeups or whatever it is, you go back-to-back fastballs to Nathan Lucas. You got to be kidding me. So, like, that's a pitch decision that I think helped cost him the ALDS too. Joe Davis said it late, and he hit the nail on the head. And I'll toss it back to you for obviously your most egregious, but this is a Yankees team. And I think that, again, the comments saying, the Jays were just better, acknowledge that the Jays were better this year. Absolutely. But here, as a Yankee fan, we can't sit here and tolerate there being somebody better in the division, or two teams just objectively on paper better, or a more galvanized team. Every single year, the Yankees under Aaron Boone have not been the favorites in the American League once. They certainly have not been the favorites in Major League Baseball. I would say entering the postseason last year, the Orioles were the favorites in the AL. And then when they fell off, the Yankees had an easier path to get to the World Series. Then all of a sudden, they're the AL favorites, but not the World Series favorites. And they got dominated in the World Series. Joe Davis said we're always in the conversation. It's true. It's the most damning compliment of the New York Yankees under Aaron Boone. Yeah. They are always in the conversation. They're always one of the third or fourth likeliest teams to win the World Series. And the Blue Jays went worst to first last year by bringing in, giving chances to guys like Nathan Lucas and Ernie Clement, career minor leaguers, and Addison Barger, finding room for him from the minor league system. All this talk on Yankees Twitter about how superstars are better than role players and stars. And sure, but the Jays have one. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a superstar. George Springer is a star. Alejandro Kirk's an all-star. And beyond that, it's mostly role players. Their superstar was a superstar. Our superstar was also a superstar. Even playing field. Judge and Vladdy, both great. Beyond that, the collection of intriguing role players, guys with skill sets, put the ball in play, guys who play good baseball, tight defense, got the job done. I knew I could rely on the Toronto Blue Jays today in an elimination game. And Barger made a bad play yesterday. They made bad defensive plays yesterday, and they shook it off. We never shake it off. So, I mean, what else do you feel like led to? I don't know. I can't accept that the Yankees are Going to enter next year, presumably, again, not the favorite in the American League, and unlikely to galvanize themselves over the course of the year and find these role players and find a formula, because they never seem to.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how many more iterations of the roster they can go through. I don't know how many more iterations of the coaching staff they can go through before they identify the problem. And again, there's going to be massive roster turnover this offseason, and we're going to rely on Brian Cashman once again to fill 10 spots with a different personality of players, a different edge of players, and he, again, failed to have done that for almost 10 years now, since Aaron Judge has been a Yankee, because this team has not had that instinct, whether it's with the manager. The Yankees made the World Series last year. They did, and I think that was a great accomplishment, and I don't take anything away from them for getting there, but they got there, and then everything that had affected their play and kind of took them down a few pegs in the national discussion immediately surfaced. And then that was the end of the World Series. So we talked about the lack of focus, the lack of defensive fundamentals, the lack of a manager who knows how to put his players in the best positions possible, a lack of timely hitting, whatever it is. It all came together for 5 full games and ended in the worst way possible. So yes, getting to the World Series was an accomplishment, but the things that everybody is saying out loud over and over again get ignored, and then they blow up in the biggest moment possible. And then we're sitting here saying, we said this was an issue. Nobody really agreed with it in the organization. And now what's the recourse? And the recourse was really not much of the same, because we remade the roster. Was it good? Yes, it was a good team. Are they flawed? Yes, they're flawed. They still strike out a ton. They still don't hit that well with runners in scoring position. They are still prone to cold streaks unlike any other. And we understand that baseball is incredibly difficult, and you're seeing a rise in these slumps, and you're seeing a rise in velocity, and you're seeing a rise in pitch movement and all that. But there are teams out there that predicate their offense on making contact. There's teams that predicate their offense on loading the lineup with experience and making sure that they have the right personalities and influential members on the bench. And the Yankees don't do that, and they haven't done that. And you want to talk about a decision from this series, the Yankees let Anthony Volpe go 1 for 15 with 11 strikeouts in the ALDS. At no point was there tonight, for example, you are getting mowed down inning after inning. Volpe is 0 for 4 and has, at this point he's 0 for 3 and he has 2 strikeouts. There's no thought to say, all right, we're taking him out in, the 7th. Caballero's coming in. I don't know why he didn't pinch hit when at whatever point they either had a runner on, I think, in the 6th or something. It's crazy to me how, again, they're sticking with all of the processes that have sunk them time and time again. And we praised Anthony Volpe for his efforts in the first 3 to 4 postseason games. He was playing solid defense. He wasn't making egregious outs. He produced runs in that Red Sox series and managed to be a contributor. But we have seen that happen, and then we see it go away immediately. Anthony Volpe's claim to fame over the last 3 years is having a quick burst of offense and making you think that this is something that he can capture for a long period of time, and then he completely goes away. So when the Yankees saw that he was 0 for 9 with 7 strikeouts, that's the warning sign. He's not playing tonight. I just don't know. That means there's no urgency. That means you're sitting there and you're trusting your processes that, again, don't have a lot of evidence behind them in terms of the success when you're talking about a specific group of players. So that to me didn't lose them the series, but it was more of an encapsulation of their inability to adjust on the fly or to say, you know what, the time is, and you can even go to last night, like when Rodon was kept in to kind of keep going. It's like, What are you waiting for? What's the, everyone's laughing at us. You see all the Red Sox fans on social media, they're laughing that we left Rodon in that long. They made the same mistake almost in the Red Sox series, leaving him in too long, and that was a do or die game. It's like, what is the wait? What is next for you in your head? Because everybody else is sitting here saying, everybody else who's not as invested as this group of people, Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman, the players on the field, everybody else is like, there is no tomorrow, there is no next inning. We don't know what's going, and they are acting as if, nope, it's all good, don't worry. We have 6 outs left. Okay, yeah, not changing anything. So we'll see what happens after that. So that's where most of my, and it's not with Anthony Volpe, because again, it's not Anthony Volpe's fault. He shouldn't be in these games start to finish to continuing to strike out, but they did it. They let it happen. He had more strikeouts in this series than the entire Blue Jays team did.
You're right that Anthony Volpe's claim to fame is having these short bursts of success. His other claim to fame is having cortisone shots. Like, nobody has ever clearly needed a cortisone shot more than Anthony Volpe between the wild card series and the division series. He's injured. He's going to need an offseason procedure, I would be willing to bet. And yet they played him through all of it. And we could name 30 examples of why you shouldn't trust a word that comes out of Aaron Boone's mouth or the front office's mouth. But how about this one where they tell us, okay, we tried Caballero towards the end of the regular season, and then Volpe wins his job back. And the justification is, well, we love to use Caballero as a weapon off the bench. We love to use him in late innings. We love to mix and match. We don't want to lose our ability to do that. Caballero doesn't play in this series. He comes in yesterday. He makes a spectacular play to end the game. Good for him. But we love to use him off the bench. We love to mix and match. When are we going to use him off the bench? Where is he? I don't see him. Jason Dominguez, first at bat of the postseason. His first postseason at bat, 9th inning today, a double in the gap. So maybe his last at bat with the Yankees. I don't know. But just again, you trust them. We got some important reps for Dominguez, and we're going to get Caballero mixed in there off the bench, and we're going to figure out a way to use all these weapons. These guys don't play. They don't figure it out. They never use them. They at no point did they consider taking Anthony Volpe out of the starting lineup in this series. And
16 strikeouts. He led everybody in the postseason, and the next closest person had 11.
Injured. Like, I don't blame Anthony Volpe. I blame the people who keep running Anthony Volpe out there. And hey, look, so we're talking about changes and who's gone and what to expect. I think we have to just start with the Aaron Boone discussion here's Aaron Boone at the end of this says, I'm under contract. That's what they asked. Do you expect to be back next year? And he just said, I'm under contract. So Alex Rodriguez on the postgame just said, honestly, from the entire organization, Aaron Boone is the guy I would circle that is the least to blame. I hear you. I don't think that this series was lost on managerial malfeasance necessarily. But in my lowest moment yesterday, while I thought I was watching the Yankees get eliminated early in the game as Rodon just dies out there, it just keeps circling back to the same Aaron Boone thought for me. Is Aaron Boone the singular problem with this team? Did he cause their downfall and destruction in this series? No. Is there a singular decision that turned the series, like the Nestor Cortez move? No. Year 9 next year. Are we sure Aaron Boone is additive? That's it. I'm not in there, right? I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what he brings on a daily basis. I don't know if he's the glue holding this team together. I don't know if they would spiral without him. I don't know if I can ascribe their comfort under pressure yesterday to Aaron Boone's existence. And if I can, I'd love for somebody to tell me that so that I can start advocating for him and start telling people it's going to get so much worse if we get rid of Aaron Boone. But at this moment in time, as my group chat was lighting up at the end of the game, how does it not feel like a Tom Thibodeau situation to anybody else? Takes the Knicks to the conference finals, and everybody agrees we're at a matchup disadvantage here. He can't scheme this team. Basketball coaching is different than baseball coaching. You have a real tangible impact on the game as a basketball coach, but everybody agrees. Change the Knicks culture. Change the program. They go from a laughing stock to a conference finalist. They make a playoff run the last 3 years. They win around, and the Knicks go not good enough. It's not working. Got outclassed in the biggest stage, the final round. Rick Carlisle got him, won the chess match. We're going to get a guy in here who knows offensive mismatches and can figure out how to get this working. Tibbs out, Mike Brown in. No thought to culture, no thought to locker. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart are basically saying, we love Tibbs. I can't imagine playing for anybody else. Front office goes, I don't care. You're going to play for somebody else next year. We're going to change things. It's not good enough. What about the Aaron Boone era is good enough? It's good enough. Maybe I said it. It's good enough. Like Joe Davis said, they're always involved. They're going to be
always
a good
there.
team next year. They're going to have a good record next year with Aaron Boone. But why is that enough? And aren't we done here? Like, shouldn't we be looking for an additive manager?
Yeah, that's really what it is. Because again, I don't know how many more of these results you can have. So you have the outlier, which was last year, and that was the only outlier postseason under Aaron Boone. 2018 bounced in the DS. 2019 got to the CS, didn't get as far as you did in 2017. 2020 bounced in the DS. 2021 bounced in the wild card. 2022 swept in the CS. Should have been eliminated in the DS too if Harrison Bader doesn't lift the team over the Guardians. 2023 does not make the playoffs. 2024 they get one of the three best players in baseball to pair with Aaron Judge, and they make the World Series. So I don't know. That is the one season that Aaron Boone, you could argue, did anything different, and then he ruined Game 1 of the World Series by taking Garrett Cole out early. I think we can agree that the Nestor Cortez decision was an organizational one, not Aaron Boone one. Because if it was an Aaron Boone one and Brian Cashman said either don't do that or make the call yourself, and that was the result, then I think there is a firing. But the problem with the Yankees is that they are aligned with Boone. And Michael Kay said it earlier this year. He's like, you're not going to be during their 3-month hiatus where they essentially took off from baseball and lost the division, because if they win one more game, they win the division. Michael Kay was saying, hey, anybody here looking forward to Aaron Boone getting fired, like, good luck, because he's not. The organization likes him. The organization likes that they're on the same page, and the organization is okay with the results. So, they're contending. They're there. They're in the division race most years. They are in the CS discussion probably 50-50, every year as one of the few teams. They're one of 4 teams in the discussion. But in reality, they should be one of the 4 teams in the discussion to win the World Series, not reach the ALCS. So that's where, again, I think the bar is too low. And I do agree with Buster Olney sending that tweet out. What was it, before Game 3 yesterday?
Buster.
Saying that
the stark good timing on that one, Buster.
Yeah. Stark difference between George Steinbrenner and Hal Steinbrenner is that they view success differently. And it's like, yeah, but can't we meet in the middle? Can't we all admit that George Steinbrenner was a little bit crazy for thinking World Series or bust every year, knowing that baseball is arguably the hardest sport to replicate championship DNA year over year? And can't we also say that Hal Steinbrenner being content with postseason appearances every year is also not enough? And if you're talking about having a postseason team every year with a ragtag roster, like, you're the Guardians or something, a team who's frequently in the postseason and never really goes anywhere, that's a different story. You have the best player in baseball, Aaron Judge. You have one of the 2 best players in baseball. I don't want Ohtani people coming in here and freaking out.
Comments are just flooded with Ohtani people, right?
Yeah. The reality is that you need to have higher standards when you have a player of that caliber. If it was Brian Cashman having to remake rosters on a shoestring budget, or if it was Yankees getting unlucky repeatedly over again with free agent acquisition after free agent acquisition, which they have in a sense, but it hasn't been disastrous. It's just been like, oh, okay, now we have to cap our spending, or, oh, okay, now we can't sell these assets at the trade deadline because we have too much invested over here. So it's handicapped them in some regard, but it hasn't been a death knell by any means. The Yankees are in full control of their own destiny. They can defer money. They can gut the farm system. They can acquire whoever they want. And they every year decide to put a cap on what they're able to do. And they stop themselves before going over, whatever that edge is. And last year is the perfect example. And this year, if you thought this team was good enough to do it, again, it was fun having the Game 3 victory. It was fun not getting swept, but that's their ceiling this year. Their ceiling this year was giving us an exciting victory in a playoff series that didn't force them into the utmost embarrassment. And I think that's where the Yankees need to look within this offseason and say, we can't view defeating the Red Sox in the wild card series as a massive victory. Again, it was a massive victory in other ways. It was a massive victory in terms of getting them out of our hair and not allowing them to go on a postseason run this year, because I think that would have made the scars and everything that much worse in the rivalry. So they did a good job. They got the Red Sox out, and they hopefully shifted the narrative for years to come. Maybe next year, maybe the year. I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to last. It was a wild card series. Again, we don't really treat that as a true playoff series, but it is what it is. But you get to the DS and you face a much better opponent, the team that beat you in the division, and you got dog walked. So that is an unacceptable result, and that is something that the Yankees will need to reason with. But I fear that they simply just will not. They will say they got unlucky. They will say that the players didn't step up when they needed to. They will say that the outliers of their extensive strikeout woes or their issues with running runners in scoring position happen to creep up in this series and nowhere else. But that can't be the case, because consistent team. You look at the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers are playing Yankees dynasty baseball right now. Will they continue it? I don't know. It's the DS. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. But what they did in Philly, those 2 games, is what the Yankees of yesteryear would do. And this current Yankees team, if they did anything that the Dodgers, if they did half, a quarter of what the Dodgers have done in their first 5 postseason games this year, I would be shocked. And they haven't done any of that.
The Dodgers weren't good enough all year. It's the 2000 Yankees. It's the Dodgers weren't good enough all year. They had an embarrassing bullpen, and their fans hated the experience. They get to October. We've been here before. We know how to do this. Clayton Kershaw to the bullpen. Roki Sasaki to the bullpen. We'll figure it out. And they figured it out. They've gotten clutch hit after clutch hit. They have limited damage. They have looked like a World Series champion. Again, division series, not getting ahead of ourselves. But that's how you parlay a wild card series into keeping your foot on the gas pedal when the division series starts. Instead, over here in New York, the Yankees go out with a stirring victory and 3 just defeats that were barely competitive. And Vlad Guerrero Jr. doing the Yankees lose live on the air with David Ortiz. And John Schneider saying, spread the news, bitches. And then playing New York in the locker room. Like, this is what you want? Hal Steinbrenner, this is what you want? Like, this is how it ended. Again, usually it's the Astros. It's been the Red Sox. It's never been the Blue Jays before. But it's always somebody in your house playing with your customs, dancing around in the expensive clubhouse that you paid for. And you nailed it by saying middle ground. Like, George Steinbrenner was a lunatic. If George Steinbrenner hadn't been banned from baseball, fired Billy Martin like 7 times, ruined his life, drove him to drink. If George Steinbrenner hadn't been banned in baseball for sending a goon after Dave Winfield, the Yankees would have traded away Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera. So there's a dark side to George Steinbrenner. Doy, I just said it. But there's obviously a positive side too. He burned to win. And it was a little bit easier to win in George Steinbrenner's world. It was easier to construct a dynasty. But he managed to do it. When he got back, he kept the pieces that Gene Michael retained, and he helped oversee the building of a dynasty after building a back-to-back champion in the late 70s. Not perfect, but yeah, burned to win above all else. Too much, but at least he did burn for it. Hal Steinbrenner needs to stay away from the worst impulses of blowing it all up, of selling the farm, of being too quick to rid yourself of potentially helpful assets in the name of chasing a World Series or nothing every year, making wholesale changes at the end of every season that you come up short of a title. That's what you can't do. Just mass exodus. And we try it again with a new group of people, and it doesn't work, and mass exodus. But Hal Steinbrenner has to be not just dissatisfied by what happened tonight and what happened in the locker room and what we all saw, what we all have to sit through now. What we're going to have to sit through is people are going to show us those clips for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, however long it takes.
Yep.
Like the paying customers, the fans, we're going to be tormented by those. We're going to sit here and be fed those because your team wasn't good enough, because your team made the playoffs again and eliminated the Red Sox and then couldn't finish the job. It doesn't fall on Aaron Judge this year. It falls on basically the shoulders of everybody else. So be reasonable, be wise with the offseason decisions you make, who stays, who goes, who you bring in. But do not sit here and say the process worked, because it didn't. It got us Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, outlier, terrible starts under pressure, got us the worst Trent Grisham ABs of the year, got us Anthony Volpe in all of these games, got us Austin Wells swinging at the first pitch with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the last at-bat of the season that mattered. So fix the things that got us here. And Cody Bellinger, in my opinion, I don't know if you soured on him at all during this run. I still think he needs to come back.
No. Incredible defensive play in the first inning. I know last night he had that diving play that bounced off his glove where it was like, dude, you were making that play in your sleep all year, but he saved the game from getting out of hand in the first inning. So look, if I've soured on anybody, it's Trent Grisham. But again, like I don't know. It was a tough result overall, just because Judge didn't get the support he needed from. Stanton's the one to blame in this series, and you can't really blame him, because if he doesn't go on the scorching hot run that he did in the middle of the summer, if he wasn't with the team last year, like, this team is not anywhere where they should be. So it was just a bad situation overall. And again, the managerial stuff, like Volpe should have been pulled at some point. The pitching didn't deliver, and there was no recourse for that. So the team just wasn't good enough. So I don't know what else to kind of I don't know how else to navigate that. Obviously, they need to get better in the offseason with their personnel selections, but they have what they have for the most part in terms of the guys who didn't deliver this year, with Stanton and Fried and Rodon, and well, the bullpen's going to get turned over for sure, but they're stuck with Volpe, they're stuck with Wells, and there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and I don't know if
there's going to be so much that has to get. And the bullpen again, like Bednar, Doval. I found myself wishing they could bring Devin Williams back as not the closer, but it's not going to happen. He's going to get closer money. He was too good for the back half of the season. And weirdly, he leaves with me wishing him well. Good luck to Devin Williams, but he's not coming back. He's getting closer money. He'll be a Dodger. I liked him as the 8th inning guy, but can't retain him. So Weaver's gone. Ended as sadly as the Yankee tenure can end. Try to remember 2024. Don't remember this year, but impossible not to based on what we saw. Got 1 out in the postseason. His playoff ERA goes below infinity. So I guess that's nice. He's got that going for him. But Bednar and Doval come back. Tim Hill's got a mutual option. You can come on back. Fernando Cruz under team control. These are pieces I like. It's like a third of a bullpen. I didn't even like the Jays bullpen, and I liked what they ran out today more than what the Yankees. Imagine the Yankees doing a bullpen game in the same way that the Jays did.
Never.
You would have Paul Blackburn in there in the 3rd inning. It wouldn't work.
Yep.
So yeah, 3 bona fide relievers. I would bring back Cody Bellinger over paying $450 million to Kyle Tucker, and I don't think that's cheaping out. I think the Kyle Tucker move is what the world is going to want the Yankees to do, so that they can laugh at the Yankees for buying a title again when they fail in October. Lopsided payroll Kyle Tucker signing is what the haters want, because they want the Yankees to just go out there and sign the highest priced dude every year, neglect the rest of the roster. And when you come up short in October, point fingers and make excuses and go laugh at that guy again. Not interested. Much rather bring Cody Bellinger back, Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones, see what they have in spring training, bring in a veteran to solidify the outfield. Harrison Bader is a 5th outfielder, 4th outfielder. Makes a lot of sense. Trent Grisham was supposed to be a 4th outfielder, and then he hit 34 homers, and God bless him. But no qualifying offer, no long-term offer. Go to the open market, see what you can get. And again, no ill will. Best of luck moving forward to Trent Grisham. But that was going to be a difficult decision. Not for me at this point, not anymore. Is catcher solidified? Is it Austin Wells? Is it JC Escar a backup? I don't think so. I think Wells is obviously going to be the starter, get the nod. Is Ben Rice the starting first baseman without competition? I don't think so. I think you have to consider Paul Goldschmidt on a cheaper 1-year deal to be a platoon partner. I was a fan of Paul Goldschmidt all year. Could you do better? I as a straight platoon partner, I don't think so, but we'll see. I think Jazz has to come back despite the difficult ending. And I think Jose Caballero is best case is a jack of all trades. Best case is not as a starting shortstop. You're going to have a really weird Anthony Volpe conversation this offseason. Probably the biggest mistake they make is going to be handing him the keys, because we know they will, because we know they love him. And maybe
he's projected to make $4 million next year. It's really crazy how this is going to escalate as fast as it will, and I don't trust them.
Maybe he's finally a different player in year 4, healthy, but I don't think so. A lot of changes have to be made, but we just went through the lineup and where are the changes and who's being imported, and is Harrison Bader as a 4th outfielder enough of a difference maker? Is he getting this team past the DS to the CS and onto the World Series, and then, God forbid, winning the World Series? The National League teams, the Dodgers, Phillies, the Brewers, these teams are already light years ahead of where the Yankees are. And I would say ahead of every AL team except maybe the Jays. I don't know what the Jays' secret ingredient is this year, but it's working. So I would pick the NL team in a head-to-head with any of these American League teams. That's a problem. Agreed. The Yankees have to leap over 3 teams that I think are worse than the NL favorites to get back. And the Red Sox are going to be much better next year. If the Yankees hadn't knocked out the Red Sox, I would have picked the Red Sox to have a real chance of taking down the Jays in this series. So just because the Yankees got past them this year does not mean you can say the Yankees are even the 4th best team in the American League if nothing changes entering next season. So I wish we could come up with a dream offseason plan right now, but it sort of just boils down to Grisham's going to walk. Most of these position players are probably going to stay put. How do you shore up that depth? How do you switch out a whole bullpen on the fly instead of handing Matt Blake a bunch of projects? And is Brian Cashman the man to get that done? He hit on a plan B this year. The only real frustrating part about this Yankee season is that he hit on a plan B. The Yankees survived the summer swoon and got to the playoffs and won a round of the postseason against the Red Sox by luck, by an inch. Because by the time plan B got to the playoffs, none of that stuff worked. They just didn't hit. Didn't look like the same team at all. And that's the unsolvable problem that you got to figure out.
Yeah. And I'll leave everybody with this. What will you remember of this Yankees team this year? What do you remember last year? You remember the World Series choke. What do you remember in 2023? Not making the playoffs. What do you remember in 2022? The awful ending. And then you don't remember any of, what got us there? You don't remember any of that. And that's obviously there's baked in pessimism based on everything that's happened. But for the most part, like, the team just wasn't impressive. They were much like they were last year. They had a lot of talent and they out-talented as many teams as they possibly could on the way there, but they did not outplay anybody. They did not outsmart anybody. They did not out-effort anybody. And those are the next ingredients in order to get to where you need to be in the postseason, whether that's merely just getting to the ALCS, whether that's getting to the World Series, whether that's winning a World Series. So we've seen the Yankees come up well short against their opponents in all of those departments for for Aaron Boone's tenure now. And that's the end of the story. You can call Yankee fans entitled. You can call them crybabies. Whatever you want. It's a rich history where the standards are a little bit different, but at the same time, the Yankees have flipped the standard on its head and have changed it to, let's be in the conversation. That will make us money. We will be fine. And we'll ride the excuse of, no, we're building a lineup that's going to get hot in October. It's never gotten hot in October. There's never been a time it's got. Even last year, when they made the World Series, the offense was never hot. It was a one-man show. And in a few moments, everybody stepped up to get a couple of runs across the plate. But they didn't overwhelm anybody in the postseason last year. They were edging by the Royals. They were edging by the Guardians. And then they got outclassed by the Dodgers. So you can't tell me that you're sitting here and you're building a juggernaut for October that's going to beat the doors down on every opponent they face. It's never happened. It's not happened once. in 8 years. And even when the Yankees thought they had a winner or a funky contender in 2017, that team did the exact same thing. They came together and had a couple cool wins in the ALCS. Like the DS too. Obviously, they came back from the 0-2 hole against the Cleveland at that point, but it was not an overwhelming offensive juggernaut. It was just doing enough to get by, and that's the problem. They tell you that they're constructing something that never really exists. It exists for like 6 weeks out of the year when they go on their absolute hot streaks and they pad their stats and they get enough numbers to beat the rest of the pack and be like, oh, well, we were top 5 in all these important categories. And it's like, yeah, that's literally just buoyed by 2 really big months. And then the rest of it is blah, whatever. So I will remember every Devin Williams issue this year. I will remember the Anthony Volpe conversation from this year. I will remember the fact that we went into the trade deadline with that many holes that we had.
And how about this? I will remember that this team that did go on a late run and beat the Red Sox in a postseason series, and it could have ended so much worse than it didn't. But a lot of people are going to remember the 94-68 record and the tight division race with the Jays and the way that August and September ended. I'm going to remember that when it looked like Aaron Judge was out for the year, when they were uncertain about Aaron Judge's elbow, like 3 days before the trade deadline, this was a roster and a team that they entertained selling off veteran pieces because they decided without Aaron Judge, which is now a possibility, this is not a playoff team. That's the team that they built. That's the team that they built. That's what I'll remember from this season.
Yeah. And there is some element of that to every other year, whether they were missing a piece or whether they didn't have enough. Like you look at 2023, even they didn't make the playoffs, but they did nothing at the trade deadline. They said, we are not wasting any assets to bring in. We're not wasting any assets to bring in other talent because we don't think this team is good enough. And we don't feel like navigating the market to sell any of these other pieces that we have. So there is, again, there's no urgency here. It's going through the motions constantly. It's believing that the process is going to magically unfurl at the most difficult time, and it still hasn't. So that's why it's so tough. That's why Pirates fans, I guess, are complaining that we are complaining. And I do get it to an extent. Like, it must be miserable to be that, but it's also not fun just capping your abilities and saying, oh yeah, we're good now. We'll randomly see what happens, even though we have every resource and every ability to go beyond.
I'll leave everyone with this depressing thought. And if you made it this far, I'm sure that's what you want because you're either a Yankee fan commiserating with us. We thank you if you are, or you're a Blue Jays fan celebrating. And look, I'll be honest, I would have done the same thing you did. I listened to the Section 10 podcast when we eliminated the Red Sox. I can't lie to you. So I'll leave you with this. 2017 special season or Aaron Judge rookie year. Watching some Aaron Judge playoff highlights this week from that season. He was so good. He was turning on pitches. He looked a lot like he did yesterday. Big hit after big hit. That game 4 even things up with the double off the wall. You know, a huge double down the line in that Cleveland game 4 when they're coming back in the DS. That was 8 years after 2009. And it felt that 8-year gap felt like forever. You watched the 09 to 12 Yankees fizzle out. They almost grab another title and not quite, couldn't get over the hump. A lot like the modern Phillies where World Series win, thankfully, to CS, to DS, to CS, but a really painful CS. That era ends. 13, the Red Sox are so done. 14, the Yankees are not even close to being the Yankees. 15, aging team makes the wild card. 16, out of the playoffs. 17, new era. I think back to how happy I was. 2 moments in 2017. Todd Frazier scoring the second run on the ball that trickled away in the infield after the Brett Gardner 11-pitch at-bat to knock in the 4th run and then ultimately the 5th run in a 5-2 win to finish off that ALDS comeback. And then just being at a friend's house and seeing Todd Frazier getting interviewed on the field by MLB Network after that series, just having the perfect attitude, so enthusiastic, and thinking to myself, the Yankees have been dead for forever. And again, forever, 5 years. Like, it felt like forever. It was not forever. Now we know. but thinking this is the 90s spark. Like, I like this almost as much more than I know how 09 ended, but I like this more than I like 09. This is what I'm looking for. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know what we do next year without Todd Frazier, but we're going to figure it out. I have faith. Like this, we have a core. Let's win this title and then we'll worry about it. And then again, they disappear in the CS. We can complain all we want about the cheating Astros, whatever, but the Yankees don't score in game 6 and 7. The Astros barely hit. They were stealing signals. They, you couldn't really see it. They got a couple of hits. The Yankees got 0. The Yankees went out quiet. Offense died. It's been 8 years since 2017. They have not recaptured that Todd Frazier magic. They have not found the right combination of players, personnel to put around Aaron Judge, to put around that young core. The era is still going only because it doesn't have a defined endpoint, but it doesn't even have a secondary peak. The Juan Soto team feels like a different world. Like it was temporary. There was a world where it wasn't, but it came to a clattering halt. It doesn't feel like part of this. It feels like an anomaly in the timeline. The era is still going. There hasn't been another moment as satisfying as watching Todd Frazier dash from third or watching Todd Frazier speak in the postgame. And it's been the same long 8 years. And the Aaron Boone move is made after that. And from that point forward, it has just been a long 8 years that feels, I'll be honest, about half as long as the gap from 09 to 17. It feels like it went away like that. And now Aaron Judge is 34. And now the Yankees are no closer to getting to where they wish they were than they were at that point in time. I don't feel like they've gotten any closer than they were at the end of the 2017 ALDS. And that reflects poorly on everybody in that room making decisions. And maybe someday we're not going to be taunted by our rivals popping champagne on our turf, in our clubhouse, and celebrating again. And the solution is not pay more to upgrade that clubhouse or go out and sign Kyle Tucker. The solution's in that clubhouse right now. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. It's the way they play baseball. They were a last place team last year. You're not a last place team right now. It's possible year over year. You got to figure it out. You got to get those ingredients. And for me, it starts with changing the manager. For them, it doesn't seem to. We'll see.
We will indeed see. And that's it. That's where we're at. We're gonna have more content for you guys this week. We'll go live again on Monday or maybe Friday. Who knows what's gonna happen in between these next few days, but we'll keep you guys posted. Thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be here all off season. We're going to have a lot of Fallout content for you on the website, so please head on over there. Appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. And let's go Yanks in 2026.
How about that? We're going to get to writing. You can't get rid of us. We'll be on the website. We'll be live on this channel and on your favorite podcast platforms. Just turn on your notifications to know when we're going live. Good luck to the Toronto Blue Jays and their fans who are watching and listening. We respect you. That was a respectable series. You beat our ass. Again, excuses. No, I wish the Yankees were better. They weren't. They got run over. We weren't good enough. Red Sox fans all week were doing, they're like, well, we weren't even good. You can't even brag that you beat us. And that's the most ridiculous thing. Blue Jays fans, you can brag that you beat us. We weren't good enough, but you beat us. You crown yourselves. You beat the New York Yankees in a 4-game series. The Yankees were not good enough. The Yankees did not play well enough in this series, but I'm not taking that from you. It infuriates me when people try to take those accomplishments from the teams that took them. You got it. You took it. It's yours now. See what you can do in the rest of the AL playoffs. We'll see what we can do next year when we rematch with you. Hopefully we get that opportunity to avenge what we just saw. But until then, you can find us right here trying to pick up the pieces. I'm Adam Weiner alongside Thomas Carinante here on the Yanks Go Yard Podcast.